White House has taken up the battle to make housing more affordable as warning signs continue to pop up from coast to coast. In October alone, there were nearly 37,000 new foreclosure filings, up 6% from last month and 20% from last year. This is the hot topic in econ. Jackie, I was struck by something you said this week in one of our conversations as we think about what are the solutions. The VP's talking about it there. You got to watch out for just demand side answers to the housing crisis, don't you? Because prices are so high. If all you're talking about is mortgages and how to get them more easily, aren't you just going to pump up prices even more?
I think so, but I do think they're working on deregulation and building more supply. I do think there's still room for improvement on raw material costs to come down to make that easier, and some of that stuff is going to take time. But what's interesting to me is the notion that people are defaulting on their mortgages. When you think about when you go take out your mortgage, you get a fixed payment, you put your down payment down, hopefully you're in your affordability bracket and you didn't overbite. But with prices on everything else being more expensive, insurance, maintenance costs of the home, food costs, everything that goes into the household basket, there is a tipping point where then that payment might start to feel onerous because you're spending more on other things. And what you budgeted for, say, 5 years ago, now isn't really where you should be because things have changed so much. And I think that's really something to think about. And it's a little bit scary to hear that people are defaulting. We're going to talk a little bit about this op-ed that was in the New York Post talking about some ways to fix the housing situation that we're in. And I like it because it's kind of got a 360 approach. He discusses some of those ideas, but he also discusses this idea of a shorter mortgage, not a 50-year mortgage, a 20-year mortgage, where people pay down their debt faster, they build equity, they free up cash for later in life to do other things like send their kids to school or save more for retirement. I love this idea. Would have helped me of a housing savings account where I had a specific account and I could chuck money into it and know that that is my down payment. Or borrowing against the 401k. I think the max is around $10,000 right now. Maybe you give people incentives to do that without a penalty and you raise it. There are a lot of things that we can do to make it easier for young people to get into homes. We've just got to implement them and then have everything come together where it works.
So let me throw this at you, Steve, because I like a 20-year mortgage is great. It's still a demand side of things, right? And a 20-year mortgage is actually going to be more expensive than a 30-year monthly payment-wise, unless you get some kind of tax credit, which they talk about in this op-ed. But does that just keep juicing the side of the equation that's